Above all, don't lie to yourself. The man who lies to himself and listens to his own lie comes to a point that he cannot distinguish the truth within him or around him, and so he loses all respect for himself and for others, and having no respect, he ceases to love. Have you noticed how much the environment has changed throughout the truth community in the last 4 or 5 years? How it's become so polarized, so competitive, how where once it was a huge push towards truth and freedom, it's now become a compartmentalized response of belief systems, basically. Through the whole process of people pushing for the truth, people have in fact adopted certain focal points that they believe to be true or something that they resonate with, and they've locked themselves into that focal point, and they tend to compete with others from other factions who may have a different focal point to them. And very much of it has become almost like a popularity contest. People will adopt a certain belief, and then they'll get other people who rally around them who have that belief, and then they'll think, yes, we've got it right, and they'll go out and they'll attack others who have different beliefs. And even if they're both on the same wagon and have the same belief system, even if there's one single point of the belief system which is different, then they'll attack each other. And of course, the first attack against each other is to accuse the other person of being an agent. This is the way it goes. You can't think outside anybody's box at all. Everyone has their own box to think in, and anyone who thinks outside their own particular box that they've chosen, the first action is for people to accuse them of being an agent. And this, of course, is a result of ego. It is. I'm right, and oh no, you're questioning me. I know you. I can see through you. You're here to infiltrate my belief system. This is the way it is, folks, and that's the way people think. And again, it's ego that gets in the way. People adopt a belief system, and they're scared to be wrong. People are scared to ever admit they're wrong. People are scared of ever learning anything these days. And so if you question them on anything, it's an instantly polarized response. Very interesting, folks. And when it's looked at like this, and we see that it is not about truth, it's about belief systems and what people want to believe, and it's claimed to be truth or the truth, what this movement should be, the whole truth and freedom movement, should be more focused on freedom than anything, because it isn't until you establish freedom that you're going to find out what the actual truth is. Because until that point, it's simply what you believe to be true, what anybody believes to be true. Because if you don't have the freedom to actually confirm it, then, well, how can you confirm it? How can you know it's actually true? You can't. It's simply what resonates with people. And it's these belief systems and these factions, the way the so-called resistance has been divided into these factions, which has stultified and diffused and deactivated the resistance. And a lot of this, even this deactivation and this diffusing of the resistance, is due to nitpicking over details. This is what happened with the whole Christchurch thing, with the reports that I put out on Christchurch. Even though I'm saying it's a government black operation, false flag, totally staged by the government, and they lied about the whole thing, because I questioned the claims people are making about hoax, suddenly I became the enemy. I get accused of being an agent because I don't buy into the whole hoax theory. When the people making the hoax theory all agree it's a government black op anyway, but, there's just this massive amount of misdirection, and there has been so much misdirection in that case, folks, there really has. And it's all of this argument over details, and this attention that's placed on details which are essentially irrelevant. When you look at the bigger picture, most of the details are irrelevant. You'll never know until we can be free enough to know, until we can have a proper investigation, and you're not going to get that while you're arguing. And that's the thing, we have these debates with each other, but the very debate itself and the division the debate causes is the very thing that prevents freedom from ever being established. So the entire focus on details cancels itself out. You're not looking at the bigger picture, and you're never going to get free, you're never going to get anywhere while you continue to hack each other down and accuse anybody who doesn't think like you of being an agent. This is how it works, folks. There's all of this attention put on details and hacking anybody down who disagrees with any details that anybody is promoting, and it's classic divide and conquer strategy. This is how it works, folks, and it is so effective in the so-called resistance and in this so-called truth movement. It's been so effective in dividing the resistance And we're simply not going to get anywhere until people are willing to face the reality that they just don't know. A lot of the points they're defending are points that they simply cannot confirm. They just don't know. And we've got to realize just how much we don't know before we're ever going to get anywhere in this movement. All we really need to focus on is the fact that we're all under rule. We're all kept in slavery. We are all wearing yokes, basically. And, once we can get that focus, realize that we're living in a people farm and the whole place is run by a corrupt government system, maybe we'll get somewhere. But while people continue to argue over the details, it's just perpetuating the prison. And we're just working to perpetuate our own slavery by simply failing to even be able to get along with each other in the most basic of ways. It's ridiculous, folks. It really is. The truth movement has basically become its own worst enemy. And that's a very shocking thing to see. And it's a shocking thing to have to admit. But unfortunately, it's true. And that's because the focus isn't on freedom. People believe the focus is on truth, but really it's not even on truth. It's on what people believe to be true. So therefore, the focus has been placed on belief systems and arguing and defending those belief systems against all outside influence. And that path really leads nowhere. It's just a circular path that leads us back to our own prison. And it's been very effective in maintaining the control that is held over us and allowing this whole smart grid and everything that is coming online now to be rolled out around us while we are busy with our infighting and trying to get our ego up above everybody else's. We've been so played with this, and it's time to wake up to it, folks. It really is. The problem is, of course, even attempting to point this out to people, they don't like it because nobody likes to be told that they're wrong. People don't like to be told that they don't know. And people don't want to admit that they don't know. And that's one of the big problems, folks. The fact that people will not admit these things. They want to be right. People are scared to be wrong. And it is really a fascinating mentality how people are so afraid to ever make a mistake. How can they live when they think that way? How can they ever learn anything when they feel that way? Because that's how we learn, folks. We learn from making mistakes. That's what life's really about, isn't it? It's about coming near and messing up so we can learn how to do it right. And how can you ever learn how to do anything right if you think you already know and you won't listen to others, if you won't consider all options, if you won't look at the bigger picture, if you adopt a belief system halfway through the journey and then you identify everything that happens from that point with your belief system, then how do you ever learn anything? Think of the things that you miss out on. Think of the levels of expansion of consciousness that could happen if you would simply not have the belief system and you would allow things to flow and allow things to unfold the way they would. Just unfold of their own accord so that the path gradually builds itself in front of you. That is a far more productive way to go through life. It's a far more productive way to conduct research. Too many people go in to conduct research, as I said, with confirmation bias. They go in with an idea and they go in trying to prove that idea. They look at stuff and they find stuff that supports their concept that they've come up with, supports their hypothesis, but they ignore other stuff that doesn't support it. So they discard stuff. They discard half of the evidence in order to only keep the evidence and cherry pick that which supports their hypothesis. And that is not research. It's better to go in there without a hypothesis at all, to simply go in there and allow the evidence to speak to you and to tell you what happened. Because if you do that, the evidence will tell you what happened. In any of these events, it's always there, but it's the hypothesis that often gets in the way, simply because the hypothesis often causes people to discard other stuff which may be quite relevant. Sure, it's fine to have a hypothesis, but don't be locked into it. Don't think that anything that doesn't support that hypothesis is irrelevant, because all information is relevant in any research, in any case, in any event.